A neighbor of mine lives there. Yep, Dwight D. Eisenhower. A man with the most important job in the world today. What do you suppose he's thinking about over there? Right now, at this very minute. Maybe things thousands of miles away from here. Anywhere in the world. Wherever some crisis is starting to threaten everybody's future. Egypt, Formosa, East Berlin. There's a dozen places where real trouble can break out. And that's why we all depend on Ike so much. He can stand up to Khrushchev and those fellas.
It is that the communists believe that the military balance of power is shifting in their direction. These people wonder whether the future belongs to the Castros and the Khrushchev and the neutralists who are turning to hostility. They wonder whether the future belongs to freedom. If this country elects a Democratic House and a Democratic Senate and elects Dick Nixon, Republican President of the United States, and then Lyndon Johnson and Sam Rayburn go over to meet with him, I don't care how many rescue squads they send to help Dick Nixon travel around the United States.
The following is a pre-recorded, paid political announcement. When American destroyers were attacked in the Gulf of Tonkin, he replied firmly and decisively, and communist aggression was turned back.
Henry Cabot Lodge and I have had the opportunity of serving with President Eisenhower in this cause for the last 7.5 years. We both know Mr. Khrushchev. We have sat opposite the conference table with him.
We have certainly created in the Ford administration a non-imperial presidency.
The Republican TV commercials assure us the economy is healthy, inflation's controlled, our leadership is great.
Dealing with governments like Russia.
A lot of Californians feel pretty good about Ronald Reagan, but others feel a sense of continuing concern.
I think it makes a lot of people uneasy, and it certainly makes me uneasy. I think he's the kind of guy who shoots from the hip.
He did shoot from the hip.
He shoots from the hip.
As a governor, it really didn't make that much difference because the state of California doesn't have a foreign policy, and the state of California isn't going to be going to war with a foreign nation, and it was just amusing. But as president, you know, it's scary.
Well, my decision is made. I'm going to stick with President Carter.
This was America in 1980, held in contempt by foreign nations.
The commissar in the Soviet Union who went out to one of those state collective farms, grabbed the first worker he came to, said, "How are the crops?" "Oh," he said, "the crops never have been better, just wonderful." He said, "How about potatoes?" "Oh," he said, "Comrade Commissar, if we could put the potatoes in one pile, they would reach the foot of God." And the commissar said, "This is the Soviet Union. There is no God."
I will not allow this country to be made weak again.
George Bush is running attack ads. He says all these people would have their taxes raised by Bill Clinton. Scary, huh? Misleading, says the Washington Post. And the Wall Street Journal says Clinton has proposed to cut taxes for the sort of people featured in Bush's ad. So why is Bush doing it? Because George Bush has had the worst economic record of any president in 50 years. George Bush is trying to scare you about Bill Clinton. But nothing could be more frightening than 4 more years.
George Bush attacking Al Gore on gas prices? Gore is opposed to any gas tax increase. George Bush, 17 years in the oil business, profiting from higher prices. In Texas, he gave big oil a tax break while opposing health care for 220,000 kids. Bush has taken $8 million in contributions from big oil and gas. $8 million. Do you think they're giving money to George Bush because they think he'll lower prices? George Bush, he'll fight for big oil, not for us.
For 8 years, we've been told that the way to a stronger economy was to give huge tax breaks to corporations and the wealthiest Americans, and somehow prosperity would trickle down. Well, now we know the truth. It didn't work. Instead of prosperity trickling down, pain has trickled up. Working family incomes have fallen by $2,000 a year. We're losing jobs. Deficits are exploding. Our economy's in turmoil. I know that we can steer ourselves out of this crisis, but not by driving down the very same path. And that's what this election's all about. On taxes, John McCain and I have very different ideas. Instead of giving hundreds of billions in new tax breaks to big corporations and oil companies, I'll cut taxes for small and startup businesses that are the backbone of our economy. Instead of more tax breaks for corporations that outsource American jobs, I'll give them to companies who create jobs here. Instead of extending the Bush tax cuts for the wealthiest, I'll focus on you. My plan offers 3 times as much tax relief to the middle class as Senator McCain's. If you make less than $250,000 a year, you won't see your taxes raised 1 penny under my plan. And seniors making less than $50,000 who are struggling with the rising costs of food and drugs on fixed incomes won't pay income taxes at all. The tax code we have today is over 10,000 pages long. Almost every bit of it was shaped by some lobbyist taking care of some special interest. Well, it's time we had a president who puts you first. I hope you'll log on to BarackObama.com and read my full plan. It will help jumpstart our economy, create millions of jobs, and bring back our main streets all across America. The old trickle-down theory has failed us. We can't afford 4 more years like the last 8. I'm Barack Obama, and I approve this message because I know that with a new direction and new policies focused on jobs and the middle class, we can lift our economy and our country.